My fiancé spent 10 years strategizing to be with my best friend. He switched majors for her, drank heavily because of her, and secretly wore matching outfits with her. He even impulsively agreed to date me. Not very mature for a big shot in business. Then I woke up and found myself back at 16. I told my dad straight up, I want to transfer schools. Getting tangled up in a love triangle again would just be stupid. Tina, why are you suddenly transferring? I turned around to see young Linda, my best friend with bright red hair, tugging at my sleeve. Why didn't you tell me sooner? Aren't we friends? You promised to stick with me until senior year. How could you break your word? I'm sorry, Linda. My parents switched jobs, I said apologetically. Linda pouted, what am I gonna do without you? No one to help me with homework or let me copy their work. Can't you stay? I'll buy you bubble tea. I coolly pulled my hand back. Sorry, no can do. Linda lowered her eyes, will you come back? Or give me your address so I can visit. We'll see, I replied. Just then, a voice came from not far away, Linda, haven't you learned? She doesn't think you're her best friend. Is that true, Ben? Linda asked me, feeling hurt. You guys are overthinking it. The teacher's calling, I gotta go. Before leaving, I glanced at Ben standing in the shade, jacket on his shoulder, laughing lazily. But as soon as his eyes met mine, they turned cold, void of any warmth or friendliness. Could he have also come back to life? Ben's parents had passed away, making him so timid, he only dared to express his feelings secretly. To win over Linda without showing his hand, he treated everyone equally. Including me, Linda's best friend. But I was young and didn't realize what was really going on. Young love made me fall head over heels. Egged on by Linda, I drunkenly confessed to Ben. Can't quite remember his expression that night, only Linda clapping excitedly. Say yes, Ben. If you don't agree, don't be my friend anymore. Ben looked deeply at Linda. Linda, do you really want me to say yes? Something felt off, but I was too drunk to think straight. Linda nodding boldly, of course. You're both my friends. I want you to be happy, all right? That's how Ben and I ended up in a confused relationship for 5 years. During those years, I thought Linda and Ben were just friends, that they hadn't crossed any lines. Until that night Linda's car crash made the headlines. I took time off from my mentor and rushed to the hospital, only to see my supposed fiancé, who's supposed to be on a business trip, lying next to my married best friend. 2 beds, facing each other, tightly holding hands like separated yet determined lovers. Ben, who usually had no emotional expression, had eyes red with compassion. Linda, I promise to protect you forever. I'll never break that promise. The machines beeped, and the wind and rain poured outside. Linda's beautiful face finally shed tears, as if she found peace. Ben, after brushing death, I realized I have feelings for you. But I was young and immature, always pushing you toward others. It wasn't until the accident when you protected me that I understood your strategy. Your protection was all real. Later, when Ben was discharged, he packed up and left. He didn't even bother explaining to me. I asked him in frustration, since you wanted Linda, why be kind to me, Ben? What am I to you too? He nonchalantly pushed me away, finding even a glance at me disgusting. Just bad luck for you. They're 10 years. My 5 years. It was all bad luck for me. I should have realized long ago that Ben would change majors and ruin his studies just for Linda. Linda has rich parents to support her no matter what she does. But I didn't. Being friends with Linda got me labeled as a bad student, and dating Ben made me lose myself. In my last life, I shouldn't have given Linda that pad, accepted her offer of bubble tea, or played this romantic game with them. What's worse, I didn't see Ben's affection for Linda. If I had known, I wouldn't have let myself fall, and definitely wouldn't have made that ridiculous drunken confession. If you get a second chance, who says you can win just by knowing the answers? Staying away is the best and simplest strategy. You too can play your little romantic game all you want. After finishing my last class, I packed up and left the school I'd been attending for half a year. No nostalgia whatsoever, because I knew I was heading toward a new life. Approaching the school gate, "Wait a minute." Ben suddenly called out. I didn't look back. "Tina, are you seriously leaving without stopping?" "Just like before." I turned back with a calm gaze. "Just like what?" "Nothing," he said, awkwardly scratching his nose. "I got something to tell you." "Okay, go ahead," I responded. Ben glanced around. "Since you're transferring, don't stay in touch with Linda. Don't think I don't know what you're up to, trying to build connections. You should just study hard and be a normal person." Ben always thought I got into a top university for my master's on the back of Linda's social circle. In his eyes, my hard work was worthless. Did he forget I was a good student too? Top 10 in the grade? Before the college entrance exams, Linda got into a fight and was hospitalized, then her dad passed away. I was her only real friend, so I stayed up taking care of her at night and went to class by day. Long term, my grades slipped, and I didn't do well on the exams, ending up at a second-rate college with Linda. He also forgot about Ben's tough early entrepreneurial years, where I was there helping with investments and partnerships. Staying up all night nursing him back from drunken binges, encouraging him to claw his way up from the mud. Once the company was back on track, I realized I was relying on Ben too much. So, I made a decision to prepare for grad school and focus on myself. Everything I did went unnoticed by Linda and Ben. But it's not surprising since, at their core, they're selfish people. I gave Ben a faint smile. "You're right, as a good student, I do look down on you guys." He got a bit mad, but then shrugged it off. "Tina, so what if you're good at school? Linda and I have a long future ahead." I just laughed. "Whether your future's long or not has nothing to do with me. Oh, and if it's short, that's not my concern either. I'm done with those nights where I'd sit up and curse. Are you too crazy? Why get me involved in your shallow games?" That night, after my tutoring class, I spotted Linda and Ben in the alley. Why were they here? I overheard Ben ask Linda, "Linda, be honest with me. Are you here waiting for Tina?" Linda hesitated for a moment. "Yeah, I texted her, but she didn't reply." They were actually waiting for me, but I didn't step forward. Ben sighed. "Linda, are you stupid? She never considered you a friend. Remember why you started hanging out with her?" Linda's eyes flickered. She remembered. Her dad had said if she did well in school, he'd buy her a yacht. Ben continued her thoughts. "So, you got Tina to tutor you, needed someone obedient, and she fit the bill. Now that she's transferred and left you behind, why do you still cling to this friendship? You're too naive, it makes me worry." Ben pulled Linda close. "Don't waste tears on someone unworthy. I'm enough for you. Remember, I'll always be there for you. I won't let you go this time." Linda looked puzzled. "Ben, why are you so good to me?" "Because you're my little princess," he said with a playful flick to her nose, savoring this rare restart. Encouraged by Ben, Linda saw things a bit clearer. "You're right, without Tina, there's always someone else. I'll just find another." Having known Linda for so long, I knew she was sharp and knew what she wanted. Hearing this, I felt a mix of anger and desolation. Turns out, I was the only one foolishly guarding this friendship. I clenched my hands, grateful once more to be free of them. They were lost in their own world, until a group crept out from the corner. The leader shouted, "Linda! Finally, I caught you." Linda's face changed. "You've been waiting for me?" She'd previously offended some rich kid, and he wasn't just gonna let it slide. I didn't stick around, turned away, and chose a different path. Chaos erupted behind me. "Linda, I told you not to let me catch you. Get her." Ben shielded Linda as bricks fell on his back, blood pouring. He held her tight. "Linda, are you okay?" She stared deeply, tears falling. "Ben, they said something happened to my dad." "Don't worry, no matter what happens, I'll be with you." "Really?" A voice mocked. "Are you guys putting on a sappy show? Beat them, both of them. I couldn't help but laugh. Ben, you think this is some grand romance? Well, I wish your true love the best. Unlike before, I didn't call the cops. Now that things have started anew, their troubles aren't my concern. Linda's dad's company went bankrupt. It made the local news. Tina, didn't you transfer from the third school? Do you know Linda? She was famous at your school, quite pretty too. I put down my pen with an apologetic smile. Sorry, I don't know her. Makes sense, you're a model student, no way you'd be involved with her. I've heard people she crossed are all after her now. She's having a rough time. I couldn't care less. But Ben got a second chance. He must know Linda's dad gets into trouble, that her family goes bankrupt. He could discreetly warn her, stop it all. So why didn't he? My hunch got confirmed quickly. In the placement test for moving from freshman to sophomore year, I ranked in the top 3. My parents were over the moon at the parent-teacher conference. That night, we went out for a big family dinner. Next door, waiters came and went with roses and cake. Mom got all dreamy-eyed, looks like someone's about to confess next door. How romantic. I nudged Dad, hey Dad, Mom's dropping hints. What do you know, kid? Dad said, could be someone's birthday. But halfway through, he snuck off. I winked at Mom. Mom half-heartedly scolded, stop getting ideas, your dad's just taking a call, while eyeing the hallway slyly. I laughed, laughing until I felt tears well up. Last time around, I got into grad school, but Mom got cancer. Dad's dream of taking her around the world fell apart. She went through chemo after chemo, clasping my hand. Now all I wish is your happiness. Ben chimed in, Auntie, how about Tina and I get engaged, so you can rest easy? I was overwhelmed, unaware Linda and Eric were getting hitched. So when I found out my fiancé went after my best friend, and then Ben said tough luck, I went completely off the rails. I screamed at Ben, asking why they would treat me like this. I would never compete with Linda for anything. If he'd just given me the slightest hint he was into her, I would have backed off. How could they humiliate me like this? Ben shoved me away hard because he was in a rush to see Linda. I fell into a mess of shattered glass and my dad called. He was sobbing like a lost child. Tina, sweetheart, what do we do now? The doctor said, what are we gonna do? I staggered out the door. It was snowing that night and I was desperate to see my mom one last time. The icy roads made me crash hard under a bridge. Cold river water wrapped around me, and in the light, I seemed to see my mom. I reached out with tears streaming down my face. Mom, it's so cold. She held me close. Tina, don't cry. I'm here. It felt so warm, so comforting. Even in death, my soul didn't fade away. I saw my dad at the hospital, regretting it all with tears in his eyes. I shouldn't have called her. It's all my fault. What kind of father am I? After our funeral, Dad jumped from a tall building with no hesitation. His old face slowly blended with the younger one in front of me. Outside, Dad stood with 2 bouquets. Surprise. A rose for Mom and a sunflower for me. I was wrapped in overwhelming happiness, and the horror before the crash slowly faded away. With such a loving family, I hadn't seen much evil. People say you don't get smarter when you get a second chance at life. I guess I'm not that bright. I can't control destiny. But with determination in my heart and my love for my parents, I tried to fix the tragedy of my past life, even if just a little. While we were leaving, the room next to us opened a crack, and Mom peeked in. Seeing 2 young kids in there, she muttered, what are you even doing? Kids grow up too fast these days. I took a glance and froze. It was Ben and Linda. Ben was on one knee, holding flowers, filled with emotion. Linda, I never officially told you, but I want to take this seriously now. I love you. Linda didn't know what to say. I want to spend my life making you happy. If one day I let you down, you can kill me. I don't want to be just your knight. I want to be someone you can rely on. Linda was moved to tears. She couldn't forget how Ben stood by her when her family was falling apart. All her relatives deserted and bullied her, except him. She threw herself into his arms, sobbing. Okay. They hugged tightly. Ben stroked her hair, full of love. You can only love me in this life. We must be loyal. If one of us breaks that, we'll kill the other. Mom covered my ears as we walked out. Saying kill at their age is simply creepy, she mumbled. Tina, let me tell you, education comes first. Dating can wait. I know. If you do date, don't gamble your life on it, or your parents will be heartbroken. I love you guys, I said, hugging Mom from behind, just like I used to. So my theory was right. Ben purposely didn't warn Linda. After Linda's dad's company went bankrupt, debt collectors kept coming. Her father couldn't handle it and jumped. Ben, still a student, couldn't help much, but a family friend, Rio, did. He not only adopted Linda but covered her debts. Linda was back to her old self, eventually dating Rio's son, Eric, which is when she and Ben drifted apart. Ben made his move this time, trying to rule out any chance with Eric and secure Linda's emotional reliance. Ben, you really are a self-centered lover. They were together, their relationship plastered all over our school. Sometimes I got annoyed and just plugged in my earphones to listen to English. The more I listened, the better I got. Without their drama, I studied harder than ever. My parents doted on me, cooking up new dishes all the time. Dad, a home design expert with some rental properties, was content with a cozy life, now getting into cooking too. The day Dad showed me his new cake creation, he beamed. Girl, when you get into college, your mom and I will travel everywhere. The houses are yours. Sell them if you don't like them, buy new ones. See, that's what parents are like. I felt my eyes tearing up and laughed. You gotta travel abroad too, of course, we're going overseas. I began suggesting Maldives, Venice, Iceland, the North Pole. You saved enough for that? Oh, right. My friend's dad is in real estate, says it's a good gig. Dad, a good opportunity might be coming for you soon. I grinned and chowed down on cake as Dad went silent, thinking deeply. And then you'd be the boss, and I wouldn't have to work. I'll just come back and take over after college. Mom, carefree, chimed in. Then I'd be the boss lady. I jumped in, how about I join you guys for a checkup this weekend? Lots of my friends' parents have them done. I couldn't bear to lose Mom again. She was always healthy, she ate well, slept well, showed no signs of cancer. But by the time they found it, it was too late. I couldn't let that happen again. A few days later, Dad quit and said he wanted to go solo. Mom's test results were great. Everything checked out just fine. All the good news finally chased away the shadows of my past life. Linda and Ben gradually faded out of my world too. By the time I was in my senior year, my dad's business had picked up. We didn't have the funds to buy real estate, so we rode the property boom by starting a renovation business. The company grew, and soon partnered with property developers. Mom stayed happy teaching dance. Every year, I made sure to take her for a health checkup. Just like that, I finished my senior year and took the college entrance exam. Unlike in my past life, I didn't end up going to a second-tier university with Linda. I got into Beijing University, instead. This time, it was Ben who went to a second-tier school with Linda. On my first day at Beijing University, my parents came with me to help with registration and finding my dorm. When it was time to say goodbye, they were full of reminders: eat breakfast, drink milk, don't stay up too late. If you need money, call us. Let us know ahead of time when you're coming home for holidays, and we'll pick you up. I nodded and said, yes, during holidays I'll come home to see you both. Dad, remember to go to the health checkup with Mom and pay special attention to your stomach. She lovingly patted my head, looked at me with complex emotions, and sighed, "You always seem to have so much on your mind. If you don't want to talk about it, we won't push. But remember, no matter what, we're here to listen." I buried my head in Mom's embrace, feeling an overwhelming urge to cry my heart out. I realized that coming back wasn't to get entangled in a love triangle, but for my parents. I was grateful to have clarity. I'm no fool, right? I just didn't expect to still run into them. The difference now was Eric, Linda's husband in the past life, had appeared. On a break from college, I went to a high school reunion. Afterwards, I stumbled upon a scene where two guys were fighting over a girl. "Linda, I think you owe me an explanation. Why are you with him?" Ben asked with a dark face, pointing at Eric. Linda was sitting across from Eric, looking prettier than ever. She frowned slightly and said, "I'm not with him. We were just having dinner as classmates, and he showed up." "Why couldn't you just leave?" "Why would I leave? I already paid for my meal." Ben didn't believe her excuse. Taking a deep breath, he asked, "How long are you going to lie to me? What did I lie about? Do you still love him? Is it that because I have no money, you chose him?" "No," Linda said, confused. "What are you talking about?" While they argued, Eric leisurely poured himself some tea. "Linda, your boyfriend doesn't seem to like me much." "Ben, if I did something to lead you on, I apologize." What a drama. I couldn't help but chuckle. "Ben, haven't you learned? In the past life, you couldn't win against Eric. And now again, you're outdone." What a laugh. Linda turned to Eric and said, "You don't need to apologize. It's not your fault." "Are you seriously defending him?" Ben's eyes widened. He grabbed Linda's hand and said, "Come with me." "Why should I?" And just like that, the two started causing a scene in the restaurant. "Linda, I promised to help you pay off those debts. Why do you insist on taking money from Eric?" "I told you, Ben. The money wasn't willingly taken." "Would it kill you to refuse it?" Ben asked coldly. "But they insisted," Linda said, feeling defeated. "Think whatever you want." Ben wouldn't let it go, gripping her hands tightly. "Do you like him?" "No, no, no." "How many times do I have to say it? Then why keep seeing him?" "Do you remember the promise you made to me?" Eric chimed in. "Ben, you're bold. If you're not capable, why stop those who are from pursuing her?" Ben blew up. "Shut up." Frustrated, Ben ignored Eric and focused on Linda. "Decide, who are you going with today?" A classic love triangle scene. People at the restaurant watched, amazed. To add fuel to the fire, Eric continued, "Linda, come with me. I won't humiliate you like this." Both guys were pulling on Linda's hands. Exasperated, she let go and turned, spotting me. "I'm going with her," Linda said, naming me, "Tina, long time no see." It seemed neither of them expected to see me in this scenario. Ben's emotions slowly settled as he glared at me. In the past life, he always stayed calm around me, never like this, a mess. Poor guy, he really loved Linda. Good for him. With all eyes on me, I firmly refused the drama. "Nope, I'm just here for the spectacle, don't want to join your mess." I left the restaurant, bidding goodbye to my friends. "Tina, don't you recognize me?" Linda followed me out. "I messaged and called you, but you never responded." "I changed my number," I said. "Why didn't you tell me? Did you never think of me as a friend? I always considered you my best friend." She sounded so sincere that I almost forgot how she once treated me like a sidekick. I smiled. "If there's nothing else, I've got to go." "Don't go." Linda held on tight as I tried walking away. "Ben said you looked down on us, but I don't believe it. You never reached out, and that's when I believed it. Do you see us all as bad students?" I stopped walking and looked into Linda's eyes. I wanted to say, "I tried, I put in the effort." But what did I get in return? Instead, I just said coldly, "Yeah, a bookworm like me wouldn't understand friendship, right? Let's just say I don't get it." I thought she'd leave after I said that, but she didn't. She dragged me into a convenience store and bought booze. Tina, hang out with me for a bit, will you? Please. There was a bridge nearby, and Linda led me to a bench by the river. The cool breeze brushed my cheeks, and willow branches fell on my shoulders. Colorful neon lights glittered over the water. It was beautiful, just like the old days when we were so close. When she cried, I cried with her. When I laughed, she laughed with me. The friendship between girls is the most beautiful thing in the world. Linda popped open a can and took a swig. Tina, I really missed you after you transferred schools. I even secretly waited for you on the way to your tutoring classes, but unfortunately, I got ambushed. Linda stared at me, saying, but you've changed. You've become so distant. I don't recognize you anymore. I keep thinking if I did something wrong to make you dislike me. I shook my head. No, you didn't do anything wrong. In this life, you've done nothing wrong. Linda smiled like she was drunk. You're right. I can't be wrong. Everybody likes me. She told me about the past few years and about Ben. High school was fun. Ben took her out every day. Whatever she wanted, Ben tried to get it for her. They rented a place together off campus when they got into college. Ben started a business early for her. I thought, of course, in a new life, you'd spoil your wife's socks off. But then things changed. Linda had a lot on her mind. She was stressed, starting from Eric offering to help me with my debts, even suggesting they adopt me. I asked, did you say yes? Ben didn't agree. Figures. Ben told Linda, your dad's bankruptcy wasn't simple. Maybe Eric helped nudge things along. Why would they want to adopt you? Probably guilt. When the truth comes out, you'll feel indebted to them. You won't want to cross them. I'm the only one who's really got your back. I'm not gonna use you. Linda, with a headache, said, I trust Ben, so I didn't agree to Eric's adoption, but now Ben's become paranoid. He checks my phone and questions my whereabouts, worried I'll cheat on him. He even says he started his business for me. He's really annoying. What should I do? She leaned on my shoulder, lost like a kid. But I didn't feel sorry for her. I just said quietly, listen to your heart. Where does it lead? My heart? She murmured. Then she noticed Eric's car slowly following us without making a fuss. She was stunned, then smiled, I get it now. Thanks, Tina, for helping me realize what I want. She joyfully ran to Eric. He stepped out, wrapped her in his arms, and asked if she was cold. Linda shook her head. He still draped his coat over her shoulders, treating her like she was the most precious thing. At that moment, I remembered all her complaints, her vulnerability. I wanted to say, Linda, don't choose Eric. Don't go with him. But she didn't look back at me, just got into his car. Turns out, the incident with Linda's father was connected to the Sue family. Sue adopting her was to find out if before Linda's dad jumped, he left crucial evidence with her. That silly girl. In the past life, when the truth came out, Linda came running to me, crying. I told her to report it. Being a rich man's wife made her hesitate. In the end, she didn't report it and stayed with Eric, continuing her life as a wealthy wife. But slowly, she realized Eric had mistresses outside. The so-called happiness turned out to be a sham. So she chose to vent through reckless driving, which led to the accident. Which led to her saying, Ben, I now understand my feelings for you. I stepped back, sank onto the bench, and grabbed Linda's unfinished beer, gulping it down. The bitter malt spread through my mouth, yet it cleared my head. Warning, don't meddle in others' affairs. Warning, don't be soft-hearted. I don't know what happened next. The break ended, I returned to Peking University. Every day was about studying and club activities, just being an innocent college student. Junior year, our club organized a hiking trip. We had just reached the temple at the mountaintop when Dad called. Sweetie, busy lately? Can you come home? I miss you. My hand trembled as I calmly asked, Dad, just tell me. I can handle it. After a long pause, he finally said, Your mom has a tumor, but it's early stage. Don't worry, nothing serious. Hearing this, my knees went weak. I knelt, bowing to Buddha sincerely. When I looked up, my face was drenched in tears. I caught an overnight train home. Mom was already admitted to the hospital, scolding Dad from bed. The doctor said it's just a minor operation. Why make the kid rush back? Dad sheepishly scratched his head. I missed her. I held Mom's hand. I'd be mad if you didn't tell me. On Mom's surgery day, Dad and I waited outside. Suddenly, there was chaos outside. A team of doctors hurried by with a stretcher. Patient with 5 stab wounds to the abdomen, type O blood, prepare plasma. Get Dar. John to assist stat. As the stretcher passed, I saw Linda on it, bloody and unconscious. I froze. In my daze, she weakly reached out and grabbed my hand. Her beautiful face was a mix of blood and tears as she faintly whispered, Tina, I messed up. I see that now. I didn't even get a chance to say anything before the doctor wheeled her into the operating room. What on earth happened? I opened my phone to check the widely spread news about a stabbing incident. Turns out today was Linda and Eric's engagement day. In the video, Linda was wearing a custom dress, happily linking arms with Eric as they toasted. Suddenly, Ben appeared out of nowhere, holding a knife and charging at them. Eric, if it weren't for you, Linda would be mine, you took her away. Eric, shaken and terrified, pushed Linda away without hesitation. The dagger plunged into Linda's chest, spraying blood everywhere. Linda stared at the wound, incredulous. She couldn't understand why Eric, who loved her, pushed her and why Ben had gone crazy enough to kill. As Linda fell into his arms, Ben held her shoulders tightly, his face full of rage and obsession. Linda, see? He doesn't love you at all. I love you so much, why won't you listen? Why betray me and choose him instead? What does all this mean now? Linda widened her eyes, slowly collapsing to the ground. Ben held her close. Wouldn't it be better to choose me? Only I truly love you. But I don't love you anymore, Linda whispered, shaking her head. No, you don't understand. You don't trust me or give me freedom. Bleeding too much, she closed her eyes in disappointment. Eric saw this and shouted, What are you standing there for? Call 911. As I was feeding my mom porridge, Eric found me. Linda's awake. She wants to talk to you. Linda had lost a lot of weight. Her familiar gaze was filled with fatigue, confusion, and reliance. She reached out to me, and her eyes welled up as she spoke, Tina. I had some inkling. Linda's tears fell down her cheeks like rain. At the brink of death, I had a dream. I dreamt of the old US. You treated me so well. When I was in the hospital, you took care of me night and day. We aimed for the same university. When I was drunk, you made me hangover soup. When I was sad, you told me jokes. You warned me not to trust Eric, that he was a wanderer, but I didn't listen. So, I wasn't happy after getting married. Later, you told me to report to the police, and I didn't. I thought Eric was helping and protecting me, that he loved me. I didn't know he was just using me. And Ben, trying to make up for past mistakes, stood by while my family went bankrupt and my dad was driven to suicide by debt. Not getting something is often best. They are both selfish people. She looked at me earnestly. Only you, Tina. You've been the best to me all along. How did I not understand before? I should have listened to you. After she finished speaking, I calmly interrupted, it was just a dream. Don't take it seriously. She insisted, shaking her head, it's not a dream. I've experienced it. It's me who let you down, who even betrayed you with Ben. I replied, that's all in the past. It's not over. I was wrong. I deserve this. Tina, can you forgive me? Seeing my silence, she laughed at herself. Rightly so, not forgiving me. If you had done these things, I wouldn't forgive you either. So, I'm being punished. The doctor said I survived but with severe after-effects. This is my just dues. You must be laughing at me inside. No. I tucked her blanket and said only, Linda, I hope you grow. Can we at least still be friends? I smiled gently, no, sweetheart, I'm doing pretty well now. Her eyes gradually dimmed, and she murmured, so you've always been clear-headed. Tina, I finally understand what you meant about setting your goal on the moon, and even if you fall, you'll land on the treetops. But I understood too late. I didn't respond. The doctor said visiting hours are over. I should go. As I stepped out the door, I heard Linda start sobbing, a quiet choke that grew into a heart-rending wail as if she'd lost the most precious thing. A week later, my mom was ready to leave the hospital. After Dad and I finished all the paperwork, a plainclothes detective stopped me. Are you Miss Tina? He explained he was in charge of investigating Ben's stabbing case. Ben wants to see you. Why does everyone want to see me? Dad scratched his head, hesitating. What kind of friends are these? I refused. But I kept getting calls afterward. Miss Tina, Ben insists on seeing you. He says it's very important. I finally went. Behind the bars, Ben had lost a lot of weight. His eyes were deep as he looked at me. Actually, since you transferred schools, I knew you'd been reborn too. I wasn't too surprised, he was always smart. Tina, you're clear-headed, so I'm glad you're not chasing after me anymore. Just like, after you died, I could finally be with Linda without feeling guilty about betraying you. I wasn't surprised. That's who you are. Yes, selfish and self-centered me. Ben looked a bit lost. But no matter what I do, things never go as I wish. In the past life, Eric felt deep shame about betraying Linda. He ruined my company and tortured Linda to death. He was a jerk too. After Linda died, my plan failed as well. At the moment of my death, I promised the heavens if I could start over, I would take good care of Linda and make her happy. But I don't know how I failed again. Ben sighed, maybe I should stop forcing things, since I've already had happiness. I paused, a bad feeling creeping in. Ben's gaze was indeed complex. Though I don't love you, I can't deny you loved me, treated me well, stable emotions, a rare ideal partner. People are often trapped by the unknown from their youth but liberated by one person. I now understand, better late than never. This is why I wanted to see you one last time. I need to apologize, to atone, to have you know I've fully awakened, and I regret it. Ben finished, paused, then called my name with deep emotion, Tina. I raised an eyebrow. So the confession's all set up. What's next? Ben said seriously, can you help take care of Linda for me? When I get out, we can start over. I took a deep breath and said sarcastically, how convenient for you. Got everything you wanted, huh, Tina, don't be mad. I do love Linda, but that doesn't mean we can't start fresh. Maybe a man's heart shifts to whoever's got the upper hand. I chuckled, feeling the urge to slap him. Ben, if you want to redeem yourself, do it in prison. You think you're the only one lucky? I'm even luckier to have this new life. This time, I don't need to be friends with Linda, chase after you like an idiot, or play the third wheel. By the way, Linda's got a second chance, too. I left him with that loaded message and walked out of that crappy place. Linda damaged an organ and was stuck in the hospital for 6 months. Her condition kept going downhill, then doctors would save her from the edge. Through all this never-ending torment, I don't know if she wants to live, but she must regret it. The last time I heard about her was from Eric. He said he planned to propose to Linda again and wanted me to bless them. I refused. He paused for a few seconds, saying, Linda often mentions your name. She wants your blessing. I looked at the girl clinging to his side and asked, you don't love her? Why marry her? To settle a debt, he replied. I chuckled. Men can be so infuriating. They harm you without hesitation and then act all remorseful, claiming they're settling scores. Linda, oh Linda, hopefully, you'll see through the tricks. It's your last shot to live well and steer clear of despair. Last chance. Later, I got into grad school and lost all ties with Linda and Eric. Years passed, and I was meeting with my boss for business. During the break, the other leader called someone to bring over documents. Mr. Wang. A tall girl knocked and came in. We locked eyes and both froze. It was Linda. She didn't say hi, just handed out the documents professionally and left. I watched her leave slowly. My boss asked, "You know her?" Before I could answer, the other leader said, "She just got moved up, quite the hard worker. Does well. You didn't accept Eric's proposal, nor tangled with Ben. Saw through their nonsense. So, it's all good."